Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into one of the most incredible business stories of the 21st century, maybe ever. We're talking about Netflix.
So, check this out. If you had the foresight to put your money into Netflix way back at its IPO in 2002, your stock, adjusted for splits, would have rocketed from about $1 to over $600. I mean, that is an absolutely insane, life-altering kind of return.
The real question is, how? How on earth did a company that literally mailed DVDs in these little red envelopes transform into a global entertainment behemoth? Well, that's what we're here to do. Let's peel back the layers and see what was going on behind the scenes.
Okay, let's rewind the clock. We're going back to 1997. The whole thing started not just with an idea for a business, but with a solution to a problem, a frustration that pretty much everyone could relate to.
You remember, right? Before Netflix, renting a movie was a whole ritual. You'd drive to Blockbuster, wander the aisles, and usually find that the one movie you wanted was already checked out. And God forbid you forgot to return it on time. Those late fees were brutal. Netflix just threw that whole playbook out the window. Suddenly, it was no late fees, a ridiculously huge library, and one flat monthly fee. This wasn't just a better service. It was a completely different relationship with the customer. It went from feeling like you were always about to get in trouble to something easy and predictable.
So these first few years, they were absolutely foundational. This is where they nailed the subscription model, got people hooked, and built a really loyal following. And that IPO in 2002, that was crucial. It gave them the cash, the war chest really, to scale up and, even more importantly, to get ready for their next big move.
But here's the crazy part. Dominating the DVD by mail world, that was never the final plan. Not even close. It was just Act 1. The moves that would truly define Netflix, the biggest gambles they would ever take, were still to come.
I want you to really think about this. The year is 2007. Their DVD business is absolutely crushing it. It's a money-printing machine. And what do? They make a decision that just makes Wall Street's head spin. They bet the entire farm on streaming video over the internet, something that, back then, was slow, clunky, and looked like a total niche.
And this chart just shows it all, doesn't it? Their philosophy was basically, eat your own lunch before someone else does. They just knew that if they didn't kill their own DVD business, another company would come along and do it for them. So they deliberately started eating into their own profits from DVDs to pour fuel on the fire of streaming. It looked crazy at the time, but in hindsight, absolutely visionary.
Okay, so they've built this amazing streaming service, but a huge problem starts to rear its head. They don't actually own any of the movies or shows on it. They're at the mercy of the big studios. So, their solution? You guessed it, another massive, risky pivot.
And it all kicked off in 2013. The debut of House of Cards was a seismic event. It wasn't just another TV show, it was a declaration of intent. Netflix was planting a flag, saying, we're not just a tech platform anymore, we are a studio. And then with monster hits like Stranger Things and The Crown, that identity was locked in for good. They became a cultural force.
And you've got to understand, this wasn't just some vanity project to win Emmys. No, this was a brilliant business move. Why? Because it gave them control. They weren't beholden to other studios anymore. They were building a library of exclusive stuff that people had to subscribe to Netflix to see. That right there is a killer competitive advantage that nobody can touch.
All right, so the pieces are in place. They have the streaming tech, they have their own hit shows. What's next? The next mountain to climb was scale. How do you take this amazing model that works in the US and make it a truly global phenomenon?
Well, their answer was pretty simple. Don't dip a toe in the water, just do a cannonball. In 2016, in a single day, they flipped the switch in over 130 new countries, all at once. I mean, nobody had ever done anything like that before. It was just this incredibly aggressive land grab to get there first and build a moat before anyone else could even get started.
Now, this kind of explosive growth isn't just luck, it's strategy. It all comes down to these 4 core principles that are basically written into the company's DNA. 1, think years ahead, not just next quarter. 2, always be willing to blow up your own business. 3, use data for everything. And 4, be absolutely obsessed with making the customer happy.
And really, this quote from Reed Hastings just says it all, doesn't it? The biggest risk is not taking any risk. That's been their playbook from day one. Every single huge win they've had, streaming, making their own shows, going global overnight, it all came from making huge, gutsy bets that others were too scared to make.
And holding this entire empire together is the tech.
It's the secret sauce. We're talking about the recommendation algorithm that somehow knows you better than you know yourself. The streaming quality that just works, whether you're on super-fast fiber or a shaky hotel Wi-Fi. The way it syncs perfectly between your TV and your phone. All that stuff isn't an accident. It's the engine that keeps people from ever hitting that cancel button.
So we've walked through this incredible story of disruption and growth. The big question now is, what's the takeaway? What can we learn from this journey that applies beyond just Netflix?
I mean, just look at the results over the long haul. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Netflix didn't just beat the competition, they completely rewrote the rules of the game. They left not only the general market in the dust, but also those legacy media companies they were supposedly the underdog against.
So the lessons here are crystal clear, and they apply to pretty much any business. 1. Disruption isn't a threat, it's a massive opportunity. 2. Playing the long game will always be chasing short-term profits. And 3. You have to be willing to change, constantly, because the world isn't standing still. At the end of the day, it's about having a killer product that people love and backing it up with incredible technology.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. When you look at the huge, successful companies out there today, which ones are actually brave enough to follow that Netflix playbook? Which ones are willing to risk it all and disrupt themselves for a shot at owning the future? And, maybe more importantly, which ones are sitting comfortable, just waiting to become the next blockbuster?